Elicit.org, new tool that really helps with research. Sometimes I think it might help too much, but it definitely, as a researcher trying to find articles and getting started with a lit review, it's brilliant. So you would type in what your research question is. Mine happens to be about gender bias and AI algorithms. And in fact, it will even give you, if you want to brainstorm for some other questions that it, might think it will find articles for as well, you can see how these are actually really interesting questions. So just there, it's already helped out a lot. Thought of some things I hadn't thought of before. By default, it will come up with the paper title and the author and where it's found with the citations. So kind of like a Google Scholar information. But here's where the AI comes in. It has given an abstract summary, and then there's a whole lot of other fields that you can add as well. So I like to know the journal ranking, to know if it's a top quartile journal that it's come from. It's quite useful to have that. But you can see there's all sorts of other options that you can use. I also quite like to have what the main findings were. And each time you add, it just adds on another column to the right, and the AI will generate. And I can use that to decide whether this will be a good article to choose. So I can see from the citations, and maybe it's not an upper quartile journal, so maybe I want to just click on it and see if it does sound like what I need, and it will then bring all of the summaries that it's created. So who the population were. It's also got some things like whether you can trust it. For example, if it's been funded, it will pull that through as for potential bias, and it also will bring through any critiques, remembering that it's an AI generated, so it may not actually be a critique. So this in fact is not a critique of the article, it's something that the author actually found. And then you can also see where the paper has been cited in other journals, and you can go and look at those as well as if you want. You can even ask a question here. So for example, like what sort of methodology did they use? There's the full abstract. So you can do that, and you can then also sort, and you can filter. So you could filter perhaps maybe for articles from the last 5 years only, and then you can export this into an Excel spreadsheet. So I would then go through this and I star the ones that I would like to include in my lit review, and it depends, you could not even go much further. You can just simply, for a first cursory look, just decide based on the information that's pulled through here which ones are particularly useful. So I'm going to choose that one, and based on this information, I think that one is not in a top quartile journal. Alright, I might decide that's just those two that I want. So it'll then, you ask it to show more like the two that you've starred. So you can really get the ones that are totally specific to what you want. Okay, so then, and I recognize a lot of these, having done a lot of research on this already. And here I can see Elicit Q2 journal, so I definitely want that. And also it tells you the type of paper it is, so a review is always nice to have as well. So even though it's got no citations yet, because it's in a good journal and it's very recent, I can understand why that's happened. And that is very, I can see from that findings and so on, is going to be very useful, very relevant. Okay, here's also a Q1 journal, and being quite new, I like that one as well. So, and then you can go and ask it to find more like the start, and off you go. You keep on going until you've got all of the articles that you want, and then you can export it. So just that, I think, is enough to help and to get you going on a lit review. You couldn't go and use, let's just take this one here where it pulls out some information for you. If it does find the full paper, it'll pull the full paper through as well. But you can't just go and copy the main findings there, because although sometimes it does summarize it and synthesize it, a lot of the time it's pulled the sentence directly from the paper. So you can't do that, and anyway, you do need to use it in your own words. Make sure that everything is legit there. So at that point you could stop, but then just to show you some of the other tools that Elicit has, it's got various tasks, and many of these are in beta, and there's more and more coming all the time. So there's the research questions to help you find more. Yeah, that lit review one we've just done, but you can see many other points that can help you there when you finished your article even, or when you've wanting to try and just write something in a better way, or try and understand what it is that the article's saying. So many different options there. You can also use, just as an aside, SciSpace. I think this doesn't find articles nearly as well as Elicit, but it does have this co-pilot option. So I found one article here that was quite useful, and this also does a similar sort of things here using AI. I have noticed though that it does repeat itself a bit, and if I ask it a follow-up question, sometimes it doesn't make sense, but still quite a useful tool when doing a lit review.